Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be doing my second 2028 Republican presidential primary prediction. I did my Democratic version of this one a couple days ago. You can watch that one after this video. So let's get into it. Like the video and subscribe. Alright, so the Republican one, the primaries, they work similar to the Democratic ones, though the states and schedules and stuff vary. Delegates are different. Republicans have a lower amount of delegates in total. They don't have super delegates, and the schedule is quite different. So, first of all, these are the results from the 2024 Republican primaries. Nikki Haley was the only one besides President Donald Trump to win any primaries. She only won Vermont and the District of Columbia. She garnered a total of 97 delegates, and Trump got 2,268, and she got around 20% of the total votes in this primary. There's a county map, but the reason we're on this page is we need the calendar here. We'll be going off this calendar, so just remember that. Alright, we start off in Iowa, but before that, we have to talk about the candidates. J.D. Vance, this seems like the obvious one. He's the Vice President of the United States. He's leading in polling by a lot. Obviously, a lot can change by 2028, but, other candidates will be able to push themselves out there with still Vance holding an advantage. You have Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. He ran in 2024. He lost miserably. You have Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia. He is term limited, so by 2026 he will be out of office. So he will have no office, though he might run, which I believe he will, for Virginia Senate in 2026. You have Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence for the Trump administration. You have Nikki Haley. Like DeSantis, she also ran in 2024. She has no office. She is former UN ambassador under the first Trump administration and former governor of South Carolina before that. You have Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, he is currently the Secretary of State and former senator from the state of Florida. You have Ted Cruz. He came in second in the 2016 Republican presidential primaries and the incumbent senator from the state of Texas. And you have Brian Kemp. He is a governor from the state of Georgia. Republican, he's popular. He is MAGA, but he has had some tensions with Trump in recent years. Kemp, he will be out of office because he is term limited by 2027. So he will also have no office like Glenn Youngkin. Greg Abbott, he is an incumbent governor of the state of Texas. He is running for another term there in 2026. So yeah, those are our 9 candidates. So yeah, let's start with the first contest, the state of Iowa. Iowa, it has a very low percentage of votes that you need to cross the delegate threshold to obtain delegates. It has 40 total delegates. So let's see. J.D. Vance, I predict that he will win the Iowa primary with 12 delegates. In second place, I believe Ted Cruz will come in with, actually no, not Ted Cruz. I think Glenn Youngkin will do pretty good in the state of Iowa. I think Ted Cruz does do fine here. Obviously, a lot has changed since 2016, but he did win the Iowa Republican caucus back then. So, we'll see. Nikki Haley, she picks up 4 delegates. Marco Rubio picks up 4. Ron DeSantis picks up 5. Brian Kemp picks up 4. Actually, no, let's make this a bit. Yeah, this should be good, and I'm going to give some to Greg Abbott. Alright, that should be good. So the results from Iowa are in. Brian Kemp comes in with 4 delegates. Glenn Youngkin with 5. Greg Abbott with 3. J.D. Vance with 7. So let's move the rankings here, because Glenn Youngkin got second in the state of Iowa, and tying with Ted Cruz. Everybody else besides Greg Abbott got 4, and Abbott got 3 delegates. So, yeah. Then we move on to the state of New Hampshire. So this is a state where moderates do better than Iowa, because New Hampshire much more blue in the general election. The Republicans here aren't like California or New York. They're actually pretty moderate. So this is a place where somebody like Nikki Haley will do well. Nikki Haley, I think she gets 4 delegates here. JD Vance gets 4. Tulsi Gabbard gets 2. The delegate threshold here, Gabbard gets 3. The delegate threshold here is a bit more tough for people to get delegates. Also, Ron DeSantis actually does horrible in New Hampshire. We've seen that. Actually, yeah. I think that is good for the state of New Hampshire. Youngkin gets 3 delegates. Vance gets 4. Marco Rubio gets 4. Haley wins with 5. And Cruz and Gabbard both get 3. Let's move the rankings here. Haley jumps up to second place. Youngkin and Cruz still at 8. Rubio also jumps up to 8. Gabbard is at 7. And everybody else remains below. DeSantis and Kemp at 4. And Abbott at 3 delegates. These 3 did not obtain any delegates. Okay, the next state is Nevada. Nevada, it's interesting. They hold a caucus and a primary. Basically, the primary has 0 delegates. Doesn't matter. Republicans here can choose between to vote in the caucus or the primary. Basically, everybody chooses the caucus. Nevada, I feel like Marco Rubio will do well here. Still, JD Vance wins. Yeah, that's good. And Ron DeSantis pulls 4 delegates. Cruz pulls 4. And Youngkin pulls 4 delegates. That's the result from Nevada. The results from the Virgin Islands. The Virgin Islands also has delegates here. I don't know why it says 9 delegates here. We're going to edit this to 4. I don't know. Because it says 4 here. For some reason at 9. For the Virgin Islands, I feel like this is an easy win for JD Vance. Actually, no. Well, I think Marco Rubio wins all 4 delegates here. The Virgin Islands in 2024, they easily voted for Donald Trump. I feel like Rubio does better here than Ron DeSantis, so that is going to be the first win for Marco Rubio. And after the primaries on February 8th, we're going to move on to South Carolina. First, let's change the rankings. Marco Rubio jumps up quite a bit here. Haley didn't get any delegates. Youngkin is at 12. Cruz is at 12. DeSantis is at 8 now. And is that the... Yeah, okay, there we go. So, also, I do want to take a break here and talk about the candidates who entered the race, but they dropped out before the first primaries. These are candidates like, maybe Steve Bannon, Vivek Ramaswamy. I think Vivek Ramaswamy, he's going to be governor of Ohio by then. I feel like he just jumps in, but then realizes he can't win and endorses JD Vance, I guess. There's a couple speculated people who could run. I just feel like these are going to be the final candidates who make it to the primaries. And after Nevada here, I think Greg Abbott is going to drop out. Greg Abbott, he sees that he's not doing well, and he's also doing the worst of all the current candidates in these early primaries, so he decides to drop out and endorses fellow Texan Ted Cruz here. So they won't have to split Texas delegates. That might give Ted Cruz a big boost, because Texas is one of the Super Tuesday states. We'll get into that in a bit. And we move on to South Carolina. South Carolina, delegate allocation here is very, very different. Delegate allocation is basically whoever wins a congressional district. South Carolina has 7 congressional districts. Each congressional district is 3 delegates, so that's 21 delegates. And the rest, the 29 delegates remaining, automatically goes to the winner here. So Nikki Haley wins, she automatically gets already 21 delegates. Let's also say she wins 3 congressional districts. That's 13 more. That's 9 more delegates. So, that's, I think, that's going to be 36 delegates here. I think. Wait, is it 7 done 21, 39? Sorry, 9 more delegates here. So that's going to be a total of 38 delegates for Nikki Haley because she's the outright winner and she pulls 3 congressional districts. You multiply that by 3, you get 9. And you see here, that's what happened in 2024. Donald Trump, he won all but 1 congressional district. Haley won that congressional district, got 3 of those delegates. Trump got the other 47. So that's a big win for Nikki Haley. For the remaining delegates here, J.D. Vance wins 1 congressional district. Ron DeSantis wins 1 congressional district. Glenn Youngkin wins 1 congressional district. And actually no, we'll give both of those to Brian Kemp. I feel like Brian Kemp can do fine in South Carolina. Now we move with the rankings. Once again, Nikki Haley, this gives a strong boost to the winner in South Carolina. J.D. Vance remains at 2nd with 22 delegates. Rubio is at 18. Youngkin is at 12. Ted Cruz is at 12. DeSantis is at 11. And now Gabbard is now in last place because Kemp jumped up to 10 delegates. Now let's do Michigan. Michigan, so first they have a primary which gives 16 delegates. I feel like in the primaries usually have the more moderate candidates do better. I feel like Haley wins 6 of those delegates, Youngkin wins 4, and Vance wins the other 6. Now the remaining 39 delegates, I think, are awarded on caucus day on March 2nd. So we get to that. That's also held with 54 delegates in Missouri and 32 in Idaho. So let's get into that. We'll start off in Idaho. This should be a pretty easy win for J.D. Vance. Glenn Youngkin, I think he does well here. Ted Cruz also does well, 6 delegates. And Ron DeSantis pulls 5 delegates in the state of Idaho. In the state of Missouri, J.D. Vance also does well here. He pulls 21 delegates. Youngkin pulls 6. Kemp pulls 12. And then Cruz pulls the remaining 15. I feel like Cruz does well here as well. He did. I think he won these in 2016. Let me check. So that was no surprise. Sorry, no, Trump won here. Very close what we saw. I feel like Cruz will be able to win it. I feel like Vance, not win it, but he does perform well here as well because he came almost. I feel like if Kasich and Rubio's votes were eliminated, and I think they would have went to Cruz, but Missouri, yeah, that's the result for Missouri. And then the remaining 39 delegates from the state of Michigan. Most of these do go to J.D. Vance. I'd say some of these go, yeah. There you go. And then Tulsi Gabbard drops out and endorses. I'd say she would endorse J.D. Vance again. So you get Abbott endorsing Cruz after he drops out and Gabbard endorsing Vance. Now 84 delegates for Vance, 53 for Haley, 34 for Youngkin, 39 for Cruz, 25 for Rubio, 16 for DeSantis, and 22 for Brian Kemp. It seems like Ron DeSantis' campaign is failing once again. Okay. Now we go to D.C. D.C., this was only one of the 2 primaries that Haley was able to win in 2024. You need over 50% of the popular vote to get all of the delegates here. I don't think Haley's going to be able to achieve that. She is going to be the outright winner here. Ted Cruz, he pulls 4 delegates. Rubio picks 4 as well. J.D. Vance picks up the remaining 5. Alright, that's going to be the result from the District of Columbia. And then North Dakota. I think Vance also easily wins here. I think North Dakota was somewhat competitive in 2016. Yeah, I think. Oh, did they not have a primary? Okay, that's interesting. North Dakota. So I think Ted Cruz does fine here. Youngkin also wins some delegates. And then it is going to be Election Day. sorry, not Election Day, Super Tuesday. This is going to be the first Tuesday of every March. So you get so many delegates here, 865 in total. You get a bunch of states as well as, actually, no, I thought there was a territory, but no. So let's get into it, alphabetical order, starting with the state of Alabama. Before this, though, Ron DeSantis announces that he will be dropping out. Another failed presidential campaign. He does not see a path forward. And this time, he once again endorses the MAGA candidate J.D. Vance, like he did endorse Donald Trump. So that clears the field up a bit for Super Tuesday. You get six candidates going into Super Tuesday here. We'll see how they come out. Starting with Alabama, J.D. Vance wins here. The only candidates to win delegates here are going to be him and Kemp. In the state of Arkansas, similar result, though Haley picks up a couple delegates as well, and Vance wins most of them. Alaska, Haley is able to pull third place. Vance gets second, and Youngkin wins the state of Alaska. In the state of California, when it comes to Republicans here, very, very MAGA. J.D. Vance wins a big amount. Haley wins 23 delegates. Rubio, 19. Cruz here, 33. And let's see. Youngkin with 31. Actually, no, I feel like Youngkin doesn't get any delegates. Yeah, this is good. Vance wins the state of California. In the state of Colorado, Nikki Haley did pretty well here. I feel like Marco Rubio, I feel like Glenn Youngkin actually wins here. J.D. Vance pulls a good amount. Actually, yeah, this is good. In the state of Colorado, Youngkin pulls his second state of the night. In the state of Maine, this is going to be a good one for Nikki Haley. She wins 9 delegates. Marco Rubio gets 6. Youngkin gets 5. J.D. Vance does not take any delegates in the state of Maine. In the state of Massachusetts, Marco Rubio takes the win. This is his second win of the primary season. Nikki Haley comes in second. Glenn Youngkin comes in fourth. And then, fourth. And Vance comes in third. This is a win for Marco Rubio, as you can see. In the state of Minnesota, another win for Glenn Youngkin. J.D. Vance comes in second. Very, very close second. Ted Cruz takes 5 delegates. Marco Rubio takes 8 delegates. In the state of North Carolina, this is close, but ultimately Nikki Haley comes out on top. Brian Kemp does get 9 delegates here. It's going to be hard for him to pick up any more delegates. Ted Cruz also does well here. So, there's that. Another win for Nikki Haley. Oklahoma, strong state for J.D. Vance. 20 delegates. Ted Cruz picks up 15 delegates. And then we approach Texas, so we'll see how good Ted Cruz does there. Kemp does pick up delegates in the state of Oklahoma. And, Tennessee. This one's interesting. Haley does get 12 delegates, though, in the end. J.D. Vance comes out overwhelmingly on top here. And then we move on to Texas. This is a big win. Not even a big win for Ted Cruz. He just gets the most delegates. J.D. Vance comes in the close second. Then Youngkin also gets delegates as well as Kemp. So there's that. Texas first win for Ted Cruz this entire primary season. Pushes him to third place once again. Utah, this is going to be a win for Nikki Haley. I don't really have a doubt about that. J.D. Vance, he gets 11 delegates, though. So, Super Tuesday is coming to an end. Only Vermont left. Vermont actually is able to go to Nikki Haley, like she only say she won in 2024, so that's gonna be interesting. Um, though Youngkin actually comes in second here, and then to finish off the night, Youngkin's home state of Virginia, he actually easily wins it. Um, so yeah, that's what we get here, and Super Tuesday comes to an end with J.D. Vance coming on top with 398 delegates, Haley with 228, Cruz with 188, Youngkin with 169, Rubio with 91, and Brian Kemp with 96. So it's pretty clear candidates like Kemp and Rubio are lagging behind, and that is why Rubio has dropped out. And we're also going to have Brian Kemp drop out. Brian Kemp ultimately decides to endorse Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio decides to endorse Glenn Youngkin for the presidency. So that's how things are going to be moving forward. So the next primary after this is going to be the American Samoa caucuses. American Samoa, 9 delegates. This time they got it right. Marco Rubio's name was on the ballot here. He wins 2 delegates. J.D. Vance wins the remaining 7. For the state of Georgia, this was Brian Kemp's home state. He was still on the ballot here. He pulls 5 delegates. He endorsed Glenn Youngkin. He endorsed Ted Cruz. So that does give Cruz a boost here, but Youngkin actually does well here. Though still, wait. Yeah, that's the result from Georgia. J.D. Vance still wins it, even though Kemp gave Cruz his endorsement. In the state of Hawaii, another big win for J.D. Vance. He gets 13 out of the 19 delegates here. In the state of Mississippi, he is able to take another win. Nikki Haley gets 9. Cruz gets 12. Yeah, that's the result from the state of Mississippi. From the state of Washington, this is going to be Haley's first win in a while. Yeah. There you go. Youngkin starts to lag behind, as we're seeing, and Youngkin drops out and endorses Nikki Haley, and all of the people who have endorsed him so far also decide to endorse Nikki Haley. And then we move on to the Northern Mariana caucuses. Northern Mariana caucuses, J.D. Vance wins all 9 delegates. He surpasses the 50% threshold there. It's going to be the same story in Guam. Another easy win for J.D. Vance. In the state of Arizona, these states are winner-take-all. These March 19th primary states, every single one besides the state of Kansas is winner-take-all. Arizona, J.D. Vance wins. I think these winner-take-all states, they're supposed to separate the first place candidate from the rest of the field, so primary season is more swift. Florida, another big win for J.D. Vance. In the state of Illinois, that's also the case once again. In the state of Kansas, this is more competitive, though Nikki Haley does still lose to J.D. Vance by a slimmer margin, and J.D. Vance wins his home state. 78 delegates. So, there you go. Massive separation as we see here. And Ted Cruz ultimately decides to drop out and endorse J.D. Vance. It's kind of becoming clear now that candidates are not going to be able to have an easy time to take down the vice president in this heated primary. And then we move on to the state of Louisiana. J.D. Vance wins 30 delegates here to Nikki Haley 16. And now for most of the remaining primaries, like if a candidate surpasses 50%, they will get all the delegates. And now it's going to become easy for J.D. Vance or Nikki Haley, whatever state it is, because there's only 2 candidates left. Don't get me wrong, there's still other candidates on the ballot, but people know they've dropped out. And so that's why in Connecticut, J.D. Vance wins all 28 delegates. In the state of New York, he wins all 91 delegates. In the state of Rhode Island, Haley just barely edges out J.D. Vance to get that 50% threshold there and wins its 19 delegates. And in Wisconsin, the closest state on the presidential level in 2024, major swing state. J.D. Vance wins it and is about to crush the threshold. He's just a couple hundred delegates away. We'll see if he's able to pull it off. Wyoming, J.D. Vance wins all 29 delegates. And then ultimately, Nikki Haley decides to drop out because there's literally no possible way for her to win outright, because she could attempt to prevent J.D. Vance to reach the threshold so it goes to a contested convention, but she herself does not want that. So J.D. Vance pulls off a win in every single remaining state, even ones that she would likely win, like Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, those kind of states. So yeah, it ends off the primary. J.D. Vance does get the delegates he needs to secure the nomination. He gets 1,515 delegates. Nikki Haley comes in second, much better than her 2024 campaign, still coming quite short from a win with 312 delegates. Ted Cruz, third, surprisingly, with 227 delegates. Youngkin with fourth, and 188 delegates. He is able to secure the vice presidential nomination and goes on to the general election with 188 delegates. Brian Kemp comes in with 101 delegates at fifth place. Rubio with 93 delegates in sixth. Ron DeSantis, he once again botches his campaign. Another botched presidential campaign by Ron DeSantis, man. He ended it early on with only 16 delegates. Tulsi Gabbard with 7 delegates. Greg Abbott comes in last place of the candidates who made it to the first primary. That was the Iowa caucus with only 3 delegates. Once again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.